They never took over. We, the people, the sovereign people of this nation, we're standing.
I really don't want violence for them.
I don't recognize the United States government as even existing.
But if they're going to come bring violence to us, well, if that's the language they want to speak, we'll learn it.
The Bundy standoff was seen by the radical right in America as a huge victory.
If they come back, I'll be out there with you.
They actually created an armed standoff, looking down the barrels of their guns at law enforcement.
It shows you the attitude of the federal government today, and it shows you the resistance of patriotic Americans.
There was a convergence of not only militia, but white supremacists and sovereign citizens to the Bundy Ranch.
Here's the fact. Federal government sent more force in to handle Cliven Bundy's cows than they did to Ukraine.
Good to have you with us tonight. Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. Well, Republicans are always fear-mongering about threats facing America overseas. Righties try to scare people about al-Qaeda, Syria, ISIS, and, of course, Hamas. You name it, and the next day, Republicans are out there just greasing up the skids on the Tomahawk missiles ready to launch. There is a new report that shows the greatest threat facing this country is right here at home. There is a new study out from the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, better known as START. Now, START is a government program funded by the Department of Homeland Security. They're supposed to know the threats. START believes the greatest potential threat to America is the sovereign citizen movement. Islamic terrorists and extremists, they are second, and militia movement is rated as third. Sovereign citizens don't recognize the government. They like to interpret the law for themselves, and this report isn't surprising, at the least, when you consider what we've been through. This year alone, we've seen the sovereign citizen movement gain steam with racist freeloading rancher Cliven Bundy. Cliven Bundy has made it clear he doesn't believe in the federal government.
We run cattle here, graze this natural resource off this public land, and I abide by all of Nevada state laws. But I don't recognize the United States government as even existing. America better wake up if we're going to live in this country with any kind of freedom and liberty.
So Cliven Bundy is a perfect example of what this country is facing when it comes to a threat. Bundy went from local Yahoo to a so-called patriot in a matter of days. His instant right-wing celebrity status was thanks to a certain host over on Fox News. After Bundy's first two appearances on Fox, this happened.
Protesters flooded this federal holding pen area aiming to release Cliven Bundy's cattle.
Push him back up off the gate for right now. Let me work with you and you. I'll allow you two to come in with me. That's it.
It's the people or not, and you guys need to leave.
Push these people back so they can do it safely. I'll give you my honest word right here. I'm going to walk you in so you can negotiate with your father up top.
Walking past armed BLM Rangers, the Bundys started talks about releasing the cattle and calming the crowds.
But what I need you to do is to keep this crowd calm. I will do above and below.
The incident commanders agreed to release Bundy's cattle, but say ultimately it's not their call.
A gun battle was narrowly averted. This image of the standoff immediately went viral. It shows a sniper aiming his rifle at federal agents. This is what it's all about, is it not? On Saturday, Bundy told a group of people in Utah God told him to fight a civil war against the feds. He told the group, "The Lord told me if the local sheriff doesn't take away these arms from federal agents, we the people will have to face these arms in a civil war. This is your chance to straighten this thing up." Now, it's dangerous talk, it's radical talk, and it has the attention of a lot of folks. Immediately following the April standoff, I said on this cable show, the Bundy militia, they're not joking around. I made it clear a shootout was possible. You know what those guys are? They're posse comitatus. They think that nobody outside the county sheriff has a greater law than them. And you know what? There's been shooting matches in this country before. This is dangerous stuff. It can spiral out of control. It wasn't just this broadcaster. The Bundy family said on Fox News they weren't afraid to die.
Even if they killed him, the people will answer to that. And what I mean by that, they will answer that. They will be the ones to make it right. They will be the ones to stand up.
Do you think
millions of people know what's going on?
Do you worry that, in fact, they may kill either your dad or somebody in your family?
But you know, this battle's been going on for my whole life almost. And if death were our main fear, we wouldn't be here today. Freedom is much greater than death.
Unfortunately, some militia at the Bundy Ranch lived up to those threats. 2 months after the Bundy standoff, one of Cliven Bundy's militiamen turned violent. Jared Miller, seen here on the Bundy's ranch, went on a shooting spree in Las Vegas. Here's what Miller told NBC News on the day of the Bundy standoff.
I feel sorry for any federal agents that want to come in here and try to push us around or anything like that. I really don't want violence toward them, but if they're gonna come bring violence to us, well, if that's the language they want to speak, we'll learn it.
On June 8th, Jared and his girlfriend Amanda walked into a pizza shop in Las Vegas screaming about a revolution. The couple allegedly shot and killed 2 Las Vegas police officers as they ate lunch. They walked over to a Walmart and killed 1 more civilian before being shot by police. And after the shooting, Miller's neighbor told NBC News the Bundy Ranch could have turned him violent.
After a while, after the Bundy thing going on over there, they went over there for a couple of days, and then they come back, and I guess after that, Jared became anti-government, anti-police. He was talking about killing cops. He didn't want nothing to do with the government. He had his wife quit her job that she's had for a while, and hell, he wouldn't even let her collect unemployment or food stamps or anything.
Anti-government.
Anti-government.
1 week later, there was another anti-government shooting. On June 14th, a BLM agent and a California highway patrolman were shot in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
The ranger called for CHP backup before he went up the rugged dirt road 9 miles north of Nevada City. They might have interrupted an early dinner. Emergency medical supplies litter the area around the campsite where one or both of the law enforcement officers exchanged gunfire with the suspect.
Thankfully, both officers survived the shooting and are in good condition. The alleged shooter was 60-year-old Brent Cole, who was injured in the gunfight. Cole was allegedly illegally camping on federal lands when the shooting occurred. This guy is an anti-government conspiracy theorist. He posted a number of articles on Facebook sympathetic to the Bundy Militia Ranch. The START report lists sovereign citizens as the greatest potential threat to this country. And it's easy to understand why. Their anti-government ideology is dangerous. We've seen it time after time. Waco, Texas in 1993, 80 people dead, including 4 federal agents. Ruby Ridge in Idaho in 1992, 3 people dead, including a U.S. Marshal. Medina, North Dakota in 1983, 2 U.S. Marshals were killed. Then there was, in June, another shooting in Las Vegas. The threat from these people is here, and it is real. Sovereign citizens and militias pose a way bigger threat to America than radical Muslim groups on the other side of the world. Your take on this tonight is, get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: is the sovereign citizen movement the greatest threat to America? Text A for yes, text B for no to 67622. You can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. For more, let me bring in Ryan Lenz of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Mr. Lenz, good to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time. Now, we have given numerous examples of this sovereign citizen group that is out and about across America, anti-government.
There was a group, for example, here in Alabama, the Republic for the United States of America, which I covered quite extensively for the SPLC. Their president, quote unquote, assumed the role of leadership of this country, formed a shadow government that had manifestations in all 50 states. This was a group that was actually working to form the mirrored institutions of federal government for the day when the federal government fell, whether through violent action per their rhetoric or due to financial collapse. It was, of course, that was left to to whatever come what may. But these people exist everywhere. They are our neighbors. They are our school teachers, and it's an idea that has proven to be particularly appealing in the last 5 years.
All right, Ryan Lenz of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Thanks for your time tonight here on the Ed Show. Let's turn now to journalist
Thanks for having
John
me.
Ralston, host of the Ralston Reports in Nevada. John, good to have you on. The national media pretty much seems to have forgotten about Bundy, and now, of course, the spotlight's going to be back on with this START report.
And what's really frightening about what's happened, and you and I have talked about this before, Ed, is how those ideas are made mainstream by real public officials, such as an assemblywoman here by the name of Michelle Fiore, or worse, a U.S. senator by the name of Dean Heller, calling these people patriots, which just enables them and makes them think that, you know what, we're not out on the fringes. We're not alone here. We're emboldened. That's what happened with what happened up in Bunkerville with Cliven Bundy. And by the way, Ed, he's emboldened by that now. And now he's going around the country and speaking to these groups and saying freedom and liberty. And now he's invoking Scripture and equating the Constitution with Scripture. I also think if you have the I talk to God card, wouldn't you have played that first?
Has the government done anything to punish him at all? And why don't they move on him if he is breaking the law? Are they afraid of him?
I don't think they're afraid of Cliven Bundy, but they're afraid that if they do move on him, that these militia folks could resort to violence.
Finally, John, for the START report to say that these folks and these kinds of groups and this movement in America is the biggest threat to this country, from what you've seen personally, do you think that's overboard or is it spot on?
Well, it's hard for me to tell what's going on elsewhere, but these feelings are there, as your previous guest said. And let's face it, Ed, most of these folks are armed. They have access to weaponry. You showed those pictures again of that sniper. And they are right here. And who knows, your neighbor could be one. You just don't, they don't exactly advertise this all the time. So is it a clear and present danger? Absolutely. And I think a lot of people who went up to Bunkerville and the people who live there were frightened to come walking down the street to go to the grocery store and see these heavily armed folks walking around their town.
All right, John Ralston of the Ralston Report in Nevada. Great to have you with us tonight. I appreciate your time. We'll follow the story